you all so much for being here. We'll start the program in about 2 minutes while we wait for everybody else to log in on the Zoom. But thank you all again so much for joining. And please say hello in the chat with your name and your graduation year. We're very excited to have all of you.
Well, that was a pregnant pause, so I'll just say hello. Hello, Shannon. This is Ted Carreras from San Antonio. How are you, superstar?
Ted, hello. Great to put a face to the Twitter profile. Nice to see you on the Zoom. Thanks for joining.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Hi, this is Jack McIntyre from Cleveland, 78.
Thanks for coming, Jack.
Hi, Coach Karsh.
Hey, Jackie, how you doing, buddy?
Good, good, excellent.
Good to hear your voice, Jackie.
Yeah, same.
I hear you, Karsh. This is Rich Tomford, class of 70.
Tomford, I thought maybe you were dead and buried, but you can't be still on the earth, are you?
Well, I got a big hole in the backyard. It's waiting for me.
I know. Listen.
Hi, Rich Tomford. Steve
really good
Safford,
to see
class
you.
of 70.
Steve Saffron, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Hey, Rich, Tomford, Alan, and Amy say hello. And Jay Billy.
Well, hello.
I see you, Alan, but it's better to look at Amy, I think, there in that picture. It's so nice.
Is that Al in the background here?
I don't know what you guys are looking at. I can't see us.
Hello, everyone. Scott Goldshine, class of 82.
Hey, Scott. Good to hear your voice, Scott. Good to see you, as always.
It's 7:02, so we can go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone, to the American University Wrestling Zoom event. We're incredibly excited to have you all here as we kick off the 2022-2023 season. My name is Shannon Scovel, and I'm a 2017 AU Swimming and Diving alum and the wrestling beat reporter for NCAA.com. Again, we're thrilled to have you tonight to celebrate AU athletics and AU wrestling. To begin, let's welcome the President of American University, Sylvia Burwell.
Shannon, thank you. Thank you for that introduction. I think Shannon is an incredible example of what we mean when we say change can't wait. From winning the President's Award in 2017 to following her dreams to become a sports journalist while continuing her study of media representation of women in sports. Shannon, you are a change maker, and thank you for joining us tonight. I want to thank Alan Meltzer and Lauren Danielson for bringing us all together tonight to celebrate a program that I think is the embodiment of our mission to empower students to live the lives of purpose, service, and leadership that we know they can. I want to thank Dr. Billy Walker for his leadership and commitment to AU athletics as our athletics director. I want to thank Jack Cassell, who has joined us this evening. Jack serves with Alan on the Board of Trustees and is Chairman Emeritus and has been part of AU athletics since he and his brother were bat boys for AU baseball back in the 1960s. And he and his family have been incredible supporters of AU and AU athletics. From Stafford Pops Cassell Hall of Fame in honor of Jack's dad, who was an AU legend, to their generous gift and support. It was the initial gift to the Center for Athletic Performance. And of course, there's Cassell Residence Hall. And all of you all here, it's great to see this group and to see so many of you. I saw one triple eagle in the thing in terms of somebody who I think earned 3 degrees. And all of you are change makers in different ways, but you have one thing in common. Your path has been shaped by the fortitude, commitment, and overall excellence that it takes to be a part of the AU wrestling program. And this program wouldn't be what it is today without Dr. Karsh, who a number of you were calling out, Coach Mark Cody, Coach Jay Billy, and of course, Coach Borrelli, who has joined this team and this group. And I want to thank you all for being here for tonight and for your continued dedication to the program. Coach Borrelli, who you're going to hear from in a little bit, is really taking AU wrestling to the next level, and he's building on a foundation of excellence that was created by all of you. And I think Josh Glenn is here tonight to talk about the importance of that history and the AU wrestling tradition. Athletics have always been an important part of my life. I played basketball and softball in high school, and experiences I'm very thankful to Title IX, which, as you all know, is about 30 years old now this year. And then I went on to play basketball at Oxford University. And then I also was fortunate enough to be able to row in the first women's Henley Royal Regatta. And those experiences actually shaped me. The hard work, the grit, the commitment it takes to be an athlete, particularly at the college level, have really contributed to who I am today. And so I really understand and actually so believe in the importance of athletics and how important they are to our university and the lives of our student athletes. And now is a pivotal moment for AU athletics and this program in particular. And through our $500 million Change Can't Wait campaign, we are committed to building a brighter future for our AU athletes with an investment in an $89 million student thriving complex that is anchored by the 46,000 square foot Alan and Amy Meltzer Center for Athletic Performance. And Alan made sure that this center will include a new weight training program and practice space for our wrestling and competition area as well. Because I think you all have a sense of Alan. When he commits to something, he's all in. And in so many ways, Alan and Amy are both so all in for our university. Alan served on the board of trustees since 2007. He serves as our diversity, equity, and inclusion chair of our committee. Last year, Alan completed the last requirements of his bachelor's degree from the College of Arts and Sciences, and I was able to present his degree on his 70th birthday. And if that wasn't enough, Alan continues to take classes today, and he's a part of the community in many other ways as well. And I hope you all will follow his example and engage with this program and the future of this university. At AU, we believe that community is both a means and an end. And I cannot think of a better example of that ideal than AU Wrestling's and all of you all being here right now. So thank you for your support, your commitment, and your continued success as change makers. And now I'm going to turn things back over to Shannon and Dr. Billy Walker.
Thank you so much, President Burwell. We are so thankful for your leadership and support of wrestling here at American University and all of the athletic department. And now we'll have a welcome from American University Director of Athletics and Recreation, Dr. Billy Walker.
Thanks, Shannon. Thank you, President Burwell, for your leadership, vision, and unwavering support of our team, student athletes, and coaches. If any of you out there wonder how supportive our university leadership is, I can tell you there aren't many presidents joining wrestling alum Zooms tonight, that's for sure. So thank you, ma'am. I also thank Shannon for her example, taking the time to join us tonight. We're proud of all your accomplishments, Shannon. Well, here at AU and since graduation. I also want to thank Lindsay and Michael for working around the clock to make this happen tonight. So thank you. To all our alumni on the call today, you are what makes our program special, and you are our greatest asset to ensure continued success. We are so lucky to have great alumni leaders with us tonight, people like Alan, Lauren, Bob, Josh, to help us through this endeavor. Now, I know this is the last group to whom I need to explain how difficult it is to be a wrestler and the nexus between competition and character. You all know what wrestling has done for you personally. Anyone who has ever wrestled can tell you in general terms what it did to help their character. But when asked the question specifically, it's always difficult to fully articulate. You'll use terms like discipline, dedication, resolve, resiliency, focus, mental and physical toughness. But we all know those traits are still don't adequately capture the true essence of the benefits we derive from wrestling. However, when you put 30 or 40 people in a wrestling room who are all deriving these benefits, there's a certain synergy that can't be duplicated anywhere else. And that is why the wrestling room is a magical place. It's where camaraderie is built. And camaraderie is not just friendship. No, camaraderie is much stronger than friendship because it's forged through shared adversity. That clearly explains why, to me, the most important benefit of wrestling is the association with other wrestlers. That's why it's an honor to step foot in the wrestling room every day, and something that hopefully none of us took for granted. The good news, however, is that wrestling left its mark on each one of us, a mark that will continue to benefit us the rest of our lives. So it stands to reason that now is when we should help the next generation of AU wrestlers realize the same benefits from wrestling that we did. We know the generosity of Amy and Alan, as well as Jamie and Lauren towards the Meltzer Center, what will contain a transformational wrestling facility. It's a true game changer. But we also know that the gifts to the Eagles Club are tremendously important to the operation of Coach Borrelli's program, ensuring that he can build champions in and out of the classroom, champions who will make it a habit of standing on that podium in March. So thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for your philanthropic support, and thank you for the legacy you've built for our student athletes to emulate. Go Eagles. Back to you, Shannon.
Thank you, Dr. Walker. And now to the discussion you all have been waiting for. We're going to start with the Q&A portion of our presentation and welcome Mark Cody and Josh Glenn. Let me quickly introduce these distinguished guests. Mark Cody, who some of you have wrestled for, was with American University as the head coach for 9 years. Cody rebuilt this program that was on the brink of elimination from collegiate athletics into a team producing both athletic and academic All-Americans, EIWA champions, and the program's first ever NCAA champion. After AU, Coach Cody coached at the University of Oklahoma and is now the director of wrestling with Presbyterian College. Welcome, Mark Cody. And now to introduce Josh Glenn. Josh Glenn graduated from American in 2008 and is the epitome of what AU wrestlers can achieve. He's an EIWA Hall of Fame inductee in 2020 and an American University Athletics Stafford Cassell Pop Hall of Fame inductee in 2018. Glenn also won the NCAA Individual Championship at 197 pounds during the 2007 NCAA Championships. He is AU's only national champion in wrestling. Glenn qualified for the NCAA tournament 4 times, earning All-American status during 3 trips. He's the only Eagle to have won 3 Eastern Intercollegiate Wrestling Association championships in 2006, 2007, and 2008, and he placed second as a freshman. In 2005, he was the EIWA's Freshman of the Year, and in 2007, he was the Wrestler of the Year for the conference. In 2008, he was the AU Scholar Athlete of the Year across all sports. He is in the top 5 in program history in wins, major decisions, and technical falls, and he is first all-time in falls with 44 NCAA wrestling falls. Now, let's get right into the Q&A, and we'll start with you, Josh. First of all, thank you so much for being here. And I'd like to kick this off with a trip down memory lane. How did you end up choosing American University?
Hello to everyone. Thank you guys for dialing in, and thank you, Shannon. I think the first thing, most important thing is like, I believed in Mark Cody. When I was recruited, I had lots of conversations with lots of college coaches, and Mark was honest and candid up front. He was pretty candor, had a lot of candor about how the program was and what his goals and vision were, and I believed in that. The second thing I'd say is the education. American offered a very unique education opportunity that I didn't have at many other opportunities I was presented. There's also an inherent commitment to service at American. You can feel it when you walk around the campus. You can feel it when you talk to the alumni, the students, and it was something that attracted me right away. Being in the nation's capital also has some very distinct advantages. My family's always been very patriotic, so it was important for me to be at our nation's capital, to be around that and understand the monuments around the area. One more kind of tangible that was special in my situation is my oldest brother, Justin, had recently moved to DC. So it gave us a chance to spend some time together. And for those that were there in the beginning would remember that, my brother, Justin, and my brother, Jordan, spent a lot of time in that room. So it was great to have those opportunities. And then lastly, I'd say the alumni support. Although I didn't meet guys like Alan and Bob and Lauren on my recruiting trip, the way that Coach Cody had talked about them, all the support from the athletic department, from all of our alumni, was something that definitely allured me to the area. So those are kind of the things that initially come to my mind. Thanks.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Coach Cody, what's your fondest memory of coaching Josh and coaching at American University?
Well, there were so many of them, and hi, everybody. Actually, after seeing that video presentation at the beginning, thank you for doing that. I wish I had a box of tissues with me because my sleeve's all wet now, but thank you for doing this. And well, there'd been so many great memories, even right off the bat, the first team that we had there, there's a lot of great memories with them, because the program had been reinstated. And all the individuals that were still there from the program actually came back out and helped us out and were able to have some degree of success, which I thought was very special. Guys like Matt Pellegrino, Tom Kinizeski, who I would have probably gone nuts if I didn't have him, because he had worked so hard, and people like Jared Hyman, Aviv Berkowitz, and just that whole first crew there was very. It was very instrumental in the success that we had later on down the line, because they were really pioneers for the program, because that's really kind of where it started once it had been dropped. So then I guess, moving on, we, having our first conference champion, and that was pretty exciting for us, and first conference place winner. going out to the Midlands tournament was always great. I thought that was really kind of what put us on the map. Interesting story about the Midlands. Everybody would always ask us, where's American University, when people started popping up and getting on the podium at the Midlands tournament. Now, for all of you that don't know, the Midlands is probably one of the premier tournaments in the country outside of the NCAA tournament, probably the toughest. So probably third year into it, we had one of our alumni up in the stands that was holding up a sheet, and he had written on it, American Universities in Washington, D.C. So that was good, because that kind of that gave me a little break on that question during that tournament. But and then moving forward, of course, you asked about coaching Josh, and at the NCAA tournament, we had Daniel Waters being our first All-American. That was pretty special. What happened to Daniel the year before that? He had 2 years of eligibility when he came. He transferred from Penn State, and he had more wins as a junior than anybody in the country. He was the wins leader. And at the EIWAs, at the conference, at the national qualifier, he blew his knee out. So it was pretty tough for him to swallow. I remember how disappointed he was. And then to come back the next year and work as hard as he had to, his ACL was blown out. And then to come back the next year and actually get on the podium as our first All-American, that was pretty exciting. That was really exciting for us, for the program. And then, the string of All-Americans that we had on top of that. I have to say that, the first time that our team was number one in the country academically, that was pretty special. But, as far as Josh goes, obviously winning his national championship and coming down off of the stage at the national tournament, and the first three people I run to is Alan Meltzer and Lauren Danielson and Bob Karsh. And that was pretty special, to see those three guys standing there who had really been been instrumental in circling the wagons and getting the program back, So, but I would have to say everybody that had wrestled for us on Saturday at the NCAA tournament, that means you're on the podium, and those were very special memories for us. So.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Josh, we'll turn this question back to you. You achieved so much during your AU career. What is your fondest memory from your time as a student athlete?
Yeah, well, obviously winning an NCAA championship is something that I'll never forget. It's about 20 years in the making. I started wrestling when I was around 4, chasing my brothers around. So having that opportunity was really phenomenal to be able to share that with Mark and Joe, our staff, our alumni, all of our teammates that were there, especially my family. And when I think back to that time, one of the things I remember most vividly is, because you're buried in some obscure locker room in a cement jungle underneath 20,000 fans. And I was just trying to relax and stay calm and focus before the big match. And there's just so much energy reverberating through the facility, through that entire arena. But, Mark wasn't really sure how much he needed to see me, how much he needed to leave me alone. So I was really just sitting by myself in a room, staring at a wall for a while, just waiting for my time to get up there. And in the meantime, what the team had done was, all of my teammates had lined essentially the hallway from where I would leave the locker room, walk through the back hallway, and then walk up to the mat. So Mark and the team had lined up this whole area with all of Mark's former wrestlers from around the country, all of my teammates, all of our coaches, many of our alumni were standing there, so that when I came out of the locker room, I kind of walked through all the people that had loved me and supported me along the way. So be able to walk through all of them and then run right up to the mat, which is elevated, was just something that always brings me back to when I think about that time. So it was really phenomenal, and it was a representation of everything we had worked for and everything that people had supported along the way. Because although, in the end, it's just me and my spandex standing out there, letting it all go in front of everybody, it really is a team effort. And that's really what this call represents, is everyone's support along the way. And it does make a huge difference. The other thing I would say is, just the teammates and the friendships I have from along the way. You're wrestling 300 days out of the year, sweaty, bloody, a lot of sweat, blood, and tears with all your best friends every day. And that's easy to take for granted. You miss it while you're gone. The alumni support conversations I had with Alan, with Bob, with Lauren, all of our friends, all of our families, time outside the room together, a lot of mentorships that I truly valued. And I would be remiss to say, if it wasn't for meeting my lovely wife, Jessica, because she was also a student athlete. We met in 2003, and here we are almost 20 years later. So those are my fondest memories.
That's amazing. You painted such a great picture of what it means to be an AU wrestler and an AU athlete, but I know it wasn't all easy. What were some of the biggest challenges you had to overcome on your way to accomplishing that goal?
I would say probably the biggest one for me was learning how to compartmentalize my life. It's important to stay focused in the room while you're in there, but I found it overwhelming to do it 24 hours a day. So I had to learn through that portion of it to be able to just go into the mat and do everything I needed to do in the room. Then as soon as I left and showered, it was back to school and my social life and everything else. And I really tried to keep those worlds as separate and distinct as I could, because it was a challenge for me to balance all of it at one time. Especially with social media and, all the wrestling websites, and everybody always wants to call me and talk about my last match and what I could have done better, how they could have improved my technique. So just learning how to keep my world separate so that I could be 100% focused on wrestling when it's time for wrestling, but also be very committed to academics when it's time for that. Another thing that it took me a while to learn, that Mark eventually helped me get there, was, learning when to say no, essentially. If I needed to know my body and know when it was time for me to say, hey, I need to take a day off, or I need to just go for a jog today, I don't need to wrestle today. Those are things that just took me a long time to get there. And then really staying focused, avoiding all those negative things in life that would have cost me a day of training or a weekend of training. And those temptations are, they are continuous in a college environment. So learning how to stay focused on what made a difference was to make me a better wrestler and make the AU wrestling team a better team. We succeeded so well in this compartmentalization that, I tore my ACL, MCL, and meniscus in the national championships this would have been a Saturday night. So by the time I walked back into class on Monday, I wasn't walking as I usually was, and I was limping around quite a bit. And I'll just never forget that, most of the students I engaged with and most of the teachers were like, oh, Josh, what happened to your leg? Is everything okay? They had no idea that, AU had just achieved this great success and that I was a national champion. But that didn't bug me at all. I was actually quite relieved because I didn't have to sit there and relive my entire weekend. I could focus on my work and my academics. But that's how I enjoyed it. That's how I enjoyed approaching it, so that I could really stay focused on what I need to at the moment and not be overwhelmed by everything else.
Awesome. And Mark, we'll head back to you. Josh mentioned how your coaching really impacted him throughout his collegiate career. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced as a coach?
Well, I think, once I started there, we lost some momentum just because, the program had been dropped for a short time. And then we had to do what we could to get everybody re-engaged in the program and make sure that we, even rolling over to the EIWA, that was quite a challenge just to get to this conference because, a lot of the coaches in the conference and some of the administrators were worried that we'd get into the conference and they would drop again. So that was kind of a big challenge, but I felt like if we got into that conference, it would really help us out. So, scholarship wise, we just had a couple scholarships at that time. So when I was recruiting, I really had to make some good choices as far as that went. Now we were able to stack a few of them, but there were people like Josh and Muzaffar and Steve Fittery that I had to put quite a bit of money into to be able to get these guys. And you just never know, what you're going to get once they come in. And we were just very fortunate at that time to be able to get, a lot of individuals that were really into it, heart and soul, and particularly into it on the academic side. That was a challenge to even get kids into school at American University, because it was, it's a great education and they won't just take anybody. And so that, there were, I remember one guy in particular that I had to really work hard to get in, and he did a great job for us. And, but his GPA wasn't quite high enough. Well, they let me get him in and took a chance on him. He graduated 3.8 GPA, and he had a year of his master's degree under his belt, and did a really good job for us, and ended up being, getting on that podium a couple times. So, there are a lot of great stories like that came out of a lot of those challenges. I think another big challenge was obviously starting a family and having a family at that time. And, And I live 15 miles from the school, and it took me an hour and a half to get there every day. So that was quite challenging. But I remember talking to Jay Robinson about that. He's a former coach at Minnesota, and he said, you know what, just use that time to make recruiting calls. And that's what I did. You know, definitely going home at night, I would just use that time to make recruiting calls. But also, I guess those were some of the bigger challenges that we had, and we're recruiting against the Ivy League schools because, I really felt like the education there was just as good as any Ivy League school out there. So, but to go head to head with some of the schools that really traditionally had pretty good wrestling programs for a lot of years too, we were able to still field those kids, and that really worked out pretty good for us. But it wasn't easy. We spent a lot of time on the phone just trying to talk Josh. Wasn't easy, but I actually met Josh his junior year in high school when I was at Oklahoma State, and my sister brought him to the state. She was the first one that told me about Josh, and she said, "You need this guy. He's a great leader." And I did leadership in the program. So sure enough, I bring him in his freshman year, and I said, "Hey, Josh, I really need you to step up as a leader." And he said, "Look, I'm a freshman. That's a pretty tall order for a freshman." Well, now look at him, right? So, and he did a great job, at being a leader for the program. He really helped turn it around, and it's one thing for you to try to hold your team accountable, and that's tough in itself. But when you have student athletes in the program that are going to hold your team accountable, that'll really work out great for you usually. And that's when you start to see some real results, and that's what really helped us out. So.
That's great. You've obviously made a tremendous impact on AU wrestling. I'm curious how you think the landscape of college wrestling has changed since you left American.
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. And I asked Mike Moyer, who is he's the executive director of the National Wrestling Coaches Association, to join the call, and asked him if he could answer this question, because I thought there was nobody better to answer the question than him. Particularly, he's also one of the guys who circled the wagons to bring the program back, to reinstate American University. So if you don't mind, I'd like him to address that question.
That sounds great.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, Coach Kelly, and Coach Cody, and hello to everybody. Alan and Amy Meltzer, there are no words to ever express how grateful we are for all that you've done for American University and wrestling in general. And they've been supporting me since the very beginning, and it's quite an honor to be part of this call tonight. To Coach Cody's comment, the intercollegiate athletic landscape has changed dramatically over really the last 5 to 7 years. Many people have heard about these landmark lawsuits, these Supreme Court lawsuits that have occurred. One is this Alston lawsuit. It's now universities can give athletes an extra, I think it's about $6,000 a year. You have name, image, and likeness, where athletes can now be paid for promotional activities. The Power 5 schools have these enormous television contracts. The one great thing about wrestling, though, is wrestling is one of a few sports where, if you spend your money wisely, those mid-major programs can be very competitive with those biggest programs. And American University has so much going for it. It has a rich tradition. It's got obviously a very supportive president. I've been doing these for 23 years. I don't think I've ever seen a university president be part of this tonight. So President Burwell, we really appreciate your support. You have Coach Borrelli, Dr. Walker, Coach Karsh, and a lot of alums that are on the call tonight. As we all know, nothing stays the same. You get stronger, you get weaker, you get bigger, you get smaller. There's a lot of tradition behind this program, but there's no doubt that the cost of doing business in Division I athletics increases every day. And the good news for American University is there's a lot of great alumni out there that have a lot of capacity. I'm from a family of educators. One of the things that motivates me every day is that wrestling's got the second largest percentage of first-generation college-bound students of any NCAA sport. So it's much more than just an opportunity to participate in college. These college programs like American University provide so many high school students with access to college that would never otherwise have a chance to even go to college. And so I think the most impactful, compelling thing about our sport is what becomes of a wrestler. And you know, the people that are on this call really says it all. You know, where you come from, where you are, your contributions back to the sport are really pretty, I mean, just pretty amazing. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to be with everyone tonight, and just know now is not the time to let our foot off the gas pedal. You know, now this program needs your support more than ever, and you got so many great things in place. But as they say in the nonprofit world, without margin, there's no mission. And there's a great mission here at American University Wrestling, but you need some resources to get it going. So, Coach Cody, I hope that's helpful. And again, thanks a lot for having me.
That's great, Mike. Thank you.
And thank you both for
Wonderful.
your insight. Josh, we'll turn it back over to you. We spent a lot of time talking about history tonight. Throughout the years, what has inspired you to stay involved with the program, and why do you feel it's essential for others to stay involved?
I think the biggest thing is to support the teammates and the program the way I was supported by my teammates and alumni when I came through. And, you know, frankly, history has a way of just kind of making things seem legendary. For all those that were involved, we were building an airplane in flight. We were the Bad News Bears. And if you think it's any way but that, I would be interested in your perception. I mean, the first tournament we showed up and we didn't even have matching warm-ups. Guys had different singlets. We showed up. I remember the referees looking at us like, who are these dudes? You know, the team that was there when we came on, like, they had a whole different cultural shift that occurred. They had the way that the previous crew did it, and they had the way that Mark did it. And all those guys, you know, they transformed their entire college experience around wrestling and stayed along to make sure they continue to help out. A lot of those guys that still continue to help out as alumni now. It really was marvelous watching it happen. You know, we shared a locker room with like 3 different teams. I had like 3 roommates for my first dorm. We couldn't even use facilities sometimes. We had to share with other teams. We couldn't get in the facilities during the summer. All these things that we just kind of had to figure out on our own. So I think the biggest thing I'd stress to everybody is that it wasn't easy then. It's not easy now. It just takes a certain level of dedication to get through it. Excuses are very, very easy to make, especially in wrestling. But we have the opportunity to control those, to shape those, influence them, and really do what's best for ourselves as we build out our goals. And I just want to be able to share that to all the current student athletes, because although we can help as alumni, in the end of the day, like, their actions on the mat, their actions in the classroom, are what's going to keep this program alive and keep it driving forward. So whatever we can do to help them out is really the main reason I stay involved.
And as we look to the future of AU Wrestling, Josh and Mark, what excites you the most about this current program and keeps you optimistic about AU Wrestling?
I would say, you know, the current leadership we have there, with the coaches, with Jason, with the athletic department, with General Walker, it's really just an amazing opportunity. We've come a long way. We've got new facilities. There's a lot of new commitments coming up. We have a good vision, and we have a history at this point, and it makes it not easier, but it's simpler to build upon. And there's actually a vector to look towards. The guys in a wrestling room now, they can look on the walls and see people in American University singlets that have already done it and have already paved the way. And those are things that we never had the opportunity to before. So I think as I look towards the future, it's what we have currently, and then all the alumni support that I really hope guides the team in the future.
Yeah, I'd say the same. You know, I think that, you know, you have to have the alumni support, and, you know, that you have to make sure you cultivate connections to the past, you know, with your teams. And, you know, Bob Cars was always big on that. He always told me you just have to cultivate and not, you know, make sure that people really know what's going on with the program and try to keep everybody involved. You know, to gauge your alumni, it will, you know, it will benefit everybody that's involved with the program. You have a common bond with your alumni, and the more they know about the program, and the more you keep up on that, you know, the better off that you're going to be. So I think that, you know, everywhere as I've ever been, I've coached at Nebraska, Oklahoma State. I was at Oklahoma. I was at Bloomsburg. all those places, fundraising was a huge part of the success of those programs. And there was nowhere I've ever been where we didn't have to fundraise, you know. As far as the success of the program, you know, going forward, you know, got Jason and Joey and Alex and Ghana. I mean, that's a power staff right there. Those guys know wrestling. I know every one of those guys. And I know several people whose lives that those guys have touched. So, you know, the staff there is second to none, you know, trust me. And you get behind these guys right now, and that's where you're going to see a lot of success, you know, and that's what I think really helped us out. You know, they didn't wait. And again, I didn't, you know, I didn't really, you know, success isn't necessarily always wins and losses. It's just that you're getting kids through school, you're getting them to graduate, you're getting them to be good citizens, good people. You know, what I always tell my guys, I want you to go out and destroy whoever you're wrestling and come off the mat and just be a good person. And that's what I feel like everybody at American University, they understood that. And it was a great place to be able to cultivate those kind of relationships. So, but you have the staff in place to do it. And I say, now's the time to get behind that staff and keep that rolling, keep the program rolling.
Awesome. Well, that's a great note to end our Q&A on. We'll come back for question and answer from the audience in a few minutes. But now I'd like to turn to the here and now of AU Wrestling. And it's quite an exciting time to be an alumni or supporter of this program. So I introduced head coach Jason Borrelli, who is beginning his second year at American University. And Coach Borrelli is married to Jenna, a social worker and therapist. And he's also the proud dad of Carter, Lincoln, and Jackson. Take it away, Coach Borrelli.
Thank you, Shannon. And thanks, Josh and Coach Cody. What an awesome night. And so to see so many people, you know, log on a Thursday evening to support AU Wrestling is really awesome. And it actually is part of the reason that I'm so excited about being here. I kind of wanted to say a few things, but after hearing Josh and Mark speak, I wanted to ask Josh real quickly if we can get you some extra eligibility and get you in the room, because we could certainly use you. And then I want to make an observation of how fortunate we were and we are as a program to have, you know, Mark Cody come back and what he did for us, you know, for those 9 years he was here. That was a huge reason that I took this job, because he proved that it can be done. And, you know, I have huge shoes to fill, probably literally. I'm sure your shoes are much bigger than mine, but, you know, in your coaching order. But we are up for the challenge, and we're excited to keep building on the foundation that so many laid. And I'm really excited, you know, to keep working at this. You know, I thought the three things that I wanted to talk about to this group are why I chose AU, and I've already mentioned some of those, and then what you can expect from our program and the team moving forward, and then how you can help. And, you know, most of the why AU, everyone on this call knows. Many of you chose AU as well. You are alumni, and you saw all the same things that I saw, which were tremendous leadership, you know, a president that's behind athletics and it particularly likes wrestling. And, you know, for her to come on to, you know, President Burwell to come on and share some of her time tonight is remarkable. But I saw that during the interview process. I heard so many wonderful things about her, and it really got me excited. And then our athletic director, General Walker, you know, not only is he a great human being, and I got to know him years ago on the NCAA Championships Committee, just knowing that he's a former wrestler, that he appreciates and values the sport, that he cares about all sports, and that he's a general. How cool is that? I mean, I don't know. You can't go work anywhere else in the country and say you work under a general. That's a pretty neat thing. But so our leadership at the top is remarkable. And then I was blown away during the interview process. I got to meet a handful of alumni, and all of them were so proud and so enthusiastic. And that got me so excited. And to have that support behind the scenes was a big driving factor for me. And then the student athlete that you get to coach, someone that values more than just wrestling. We do this to win championships, and we want to win for sure. You know, we're competitors, but there's so much more. And kids that choose AU understand that, and they value the degree, they value the opportunities after sport. And that excited me, you know, so the type of student athlete that I would get to recruit and coach. And then another thing was the location, not just the location to DC and internship opportunities and job opportunities and connections and networks, because that is huge, but the location also for recruiting. You know, you're in the heart of it, Pennsylvania. And is right next door, and Virginia, and New York's not far away, and New Jersey's close. So where a lot of the great high school wrestling is. So location was big. And the tradition, which we spend all night talking about, the tradition, the proof is there. There's no recruit that can ever, or a parent can look at us and say that you can't come to AU and win a national championship, because Josh proved you can. And there's no one that can say your team can't be a top 10, top 5 team, because Coach Cody proved that that's possible. So the opportunity is there, and we check that box, and we can say with confidence to every house we go into that you can do it at AU. And so that's very exciting. And then I would say probably the last thing was that it had to be the right environment for my family. I have 3 young boys. I have a wife that, she has her professional endeavors, and, making sure we were coming to a place where it wasn't just about me, and DC provided that. So that's the reason why that I chose this, and I am so excited. And then what to expect. I think a lot of people probably wonder what to expect, and who is this guy, and what kind of athletes are going to be on the mat. I would just say, for me, can't ever promise wins and losses, because our student athletes are a big part of that. I can just promise that we will do things the right way. For me, we have some core values in our program, 6 of them that are pillars of our program, and we make sure we hold firm to those, and we want to do it the right way. We don't want to cut corners. So for me, it's going to be a longer process. It's not a 1 or 2 year process. I'm doing this for the long haul, and I want to be here for 20 plus years. This is the last place I want to coach. I took this job wanting to be an Eagle for as long as I can be, as long as they'll have me. And so we want to do it the right way. And you can expect to see that in our athletes, athletes that work hard, that are passionate, that believe in the idea of family, that make tremendous sacrifices, are selfless, athletes that have high integrity. And so, have just a lot of enthusiasm and are positive. And so that's what we're trying to build. And we feel like once we do that, if we do that consistently, the wins will come, and we will have a very, very good product year after year after year, something that you guys can all be really excited to watch. But we want that to start. We want the support to be there now, and we want fans in the stands. And so that kind of turns to how you can help. There's an opportunity to help financially. And I'm, I'll probably get a lot of questions about this, but I came from a program where they tried to discontinue it. And so we had to scramble and rally. And thankfully we had some real passionate and enthusiastic people step up, and we raised a lot of money, and that played a big part in getting the program back, a big part, not the biggest, but it played a part. And so I understand the importance of support, financial support. So it is needed in every level. No matter how much support we get from our administration, financial support is really, really important. And so that's one way you can help. And then you can come to matches. We need fans in the stands. Our athletes work really hard, and they want to wrestle in front of a crowd. And so we encourage you to come to matches, make trips back, and, just support us in every way you can. And then you can be a mentor. If you're an alumni and you went here and you have experiences, and you maybe had majored in something that one of our student athletes is going through, you can be a mentor and reach out to us. You can also provide internship opportunities, or reach out to us when you have them. You can buy season tickets and have them donated back. There are so many ways you can help. And we really are calling on each and every one of you to help us, because it does take a village. It isn't going to be just me and my coaching staff. It's going to take a lot more, but we know if we come together, the power of many, it can do amazing things. And I'm hopeful that we will get a lot of alumni on this call that will be willing to support, and hopefully, honestly, we get a lot more help financially, because I see the shifting and the changing of what's happening in college athletics. And I think the cost to participate is going to continue to increase. And so the less we can take, the less of a burden we can be to an athletic department, that's always the better. And so I think that financial support will always drive the ship, but there are many, many other ways you can help. So, and I'm just very excited. I'm very, very excited that this is an amazing place, the beauty of the campus, the people I've connected with, the general enthusiasm from everyone gets me so excited. And you know, I really, really, really enjoy my commute. I know Coach Cody had a long commute. I have a similar, you know, 35 minutes one way. So I'm in the car over an hour and make calls, but I really, really get excited about driving to campus and going to work at a place where you're around people that are passionate and love what they're doing. So.
Great. Thank you so much, Jason. We really appreciate your words of excitement. Finally, I want to open the floor up for questions to the wrestling coaching staff. I see some of you have already entered questions into the chat through Zoom, so that's great. We'll start with the chat. And then in the meantime, if you have a question, please raise your virtual hand and we can call on you to ask your question. And we'll start with Ted. I see you have some questions in the chat. Do you want to kick us off here in the Q&A? Ted, would you like to ask the first question? While we wait, we can jump over to Chris, who had a question about Alumni Day.
Yeah, I was just wondering, what date are you trying to get the alumni back so that other people, if they need to travel, can be there?
That's a great question. I would defer to Lindsay if she's on. She may have some more input, but we have targeted a few different dates this year for certain events. I don't know if we landed specifically on an alumni day yet, but I will ask Lindsay if she knows the answer to that.
Hi, everybody. It's Lindsay from Eagles Club. I wanted to stay quiet, but this is a question for me, so I will answer it. It'll be in late January or February. We don't have a date yet, but the good news is that after this call and our follow-up email to you all, we will include not only Alumni Day, but other days that we're going to have pregame receptions in Kettler Palmer Lounge before the matches or before the duels. So stay tuned to your email, but it's not going to be imminent. We want to make sure that happens later in the season.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, Ted, if you're available and want to ask your question, if not, I am happy to ask it for you. I think you're muted, Ted. All right, I can go ahead and ask this. So the question was, Coach Borrelli, Mike Moyer referred to you as the ultimate transformational coach. What does that mean for you?
It means that Mike is being very nice. I don't know. No, I appreciate him saying that. You know, I think, you know, I don't know. I've been around coaching. I've been around college athletics a long time. Actually, I was going to give Mark Cody and tell everyone he's the second greatest coach in college wrestling. And I mean that sincerely, but that's only because my dad is still coaching. And so I have to rank my dad number one or else I wouldn't sleep well at night. But my dad is probably close to retirement. So Coach Cody is going to be the greatest coach very soon. But you know, I've been around college athletics a long time. So I think maybe, you know, that and my experiences at Stanford, having helped save a program, you know, maybe those things combined just give me a lot of experience, and that experience maybe is what he's referring to. You know, I don't know about transformative coach, but I do appreciate the kind words.
And I know everyone's excited for the start of your second year. Matthew, thank you.
If I just say a couple quick comment there.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I mean, really, you know, when I say that, I've been around Coach Borrelli a long time, and truly, he's a guy that wakes up every day and leverages the sport of wrestling to help young people get to where they're trying to go in life. It's really what motivates him to do what he does every day, and it's why he's so wildly successful. And again, Coach Cody would be in the same boat, but he's an extraordinary coach, you know, and we're lucky to have him at the helm of the program, and he's got a great staff and great people around him. But for him, it's so much more than winning at the highest level. It's about winning the right way. and helping these young people get to where they're going.
Absolutely. Matthew, we'll toss it over to you. Would you like to ask your question?
Sure. Thanks, Shannon. So when Coach Cody took over the program, I was part of that small group of student athletes that was still around, and those 2 years were an adventure. I think Cody would agree with that. But at the time, we were the only Division I wrestling program. I think the only wrestling program, period, in the district, and we still are. So I think maybe Coach Borrelli, I think the broader network would be interested to hear, there are a lot of wrestling alum, maybe not AU alum, but there's a lot of wrestling alumni in the nation's capital. How do you think about getting those folks to matches? Are there things that we can do to get people here to put proverbial butts in seats and watch our AU student athletes compete? Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. It's a great question because that is important. And honestly, I have goals of filling Bender or the new venue once it opens, right, consistently. And I know that sounds large because it is, 3,000-4,000 people consistently in Bender Arena cheering on a wrestling match seems maybe daunting or unrealistic to some, but I really believe it's possible. I think, to your point, we're in an area where there are a lot of alumni, but on top of that, there's a large wrestling community. There's there's a lot of people in general that we can get excited about the sport. So strategies are continued outreach, continued marketing, clever, trying to make our environment fan friendly and exciting, and working with our marketing and fan experience crew to make coming to college wrestling matches neat and exciting and not a dull moment, because we all know that oftentimes the 2-1 wrestling match can get a little bit boring, right? And so you need other things to distract the fans. And so working with our marketing department and coming up with creative ways and to advertise and to get new people, because yes, we can rely on wrestling and our alumni, but we want other fans as well. And I think outreach is big. I think being involved in the community, we understand our place in terms of supporting the community and getting our student athletes involved in the community and doing service and just actively doing for others, because obviously when you do that, people will want to support you in return. So I think we're going to have to work really hard, but I think it starts with outreach, and I think it starts with this group coming back, and this group bringing others back, and this group staying engaged, because we just need to make sure that our core nucleus is really engaged and consistently engaged, and start there and then build out.
Awesome. And now we have a question from Scott about new recruits and some of the younger athletes on the team. Scott, if you're available, would you like to ask your question?
Certainly. Scott Goldstein, class of 82. Coach, can you tell us a little bit about your recruiting class coming in this year and what we might expect from some of these younger athletes?
Sure. Really excited about everybody. We had a super young team last year. So I inherited a team with 10 true freshmen, none of which I recruited. They were all here. And there were 7 other sophomores, but that they didn't wrestle the year before because of COVID. So we really had 17 freshmen, it felt like, last year. So a 26-person roster, and 17 of them were taking part in their first college season. So we had a very young team. And because of that, we didn't lose many to graduation. So we brought in a really small class. Our freshman class is only 4 athletes this year that we recruited. And but really excited about those 4. Raymond Lopez, he's from California. He's a lightweight. He's going to wrestle 125. Then Garrett Washington, he's from Bixby, Oklahoma. He's a 149. He actually wrestled for Ray Blake, who's now the Bixby head coach. And those on this call know Ray was my associate head coach at Stanford and coached with me for all 13 years. And now he's at Bixby in Oklahoma. And so we have one of his student athletes on the team. His name's Garrett Washington. Then we have a 165 or maybe 174 pounder from North Carolina. His name's Caleb Campos, and we think his future is really bright. And then our other freshman is a 197 pounder from Pennsylvania. His name's Liam Volk-Close, and we're excited about him. I would say, you know, they're in their first college season, right? So they're going to need some time to mature and get used to the college scene. But them, and then the other young guys that I mentioned, that the class of the 10 freshmen from a year ago plus the other 7, we have a young team. And with a year under our belt, and then maybe one more after this year, I think you'll really start seeing the results, because it takes some time to adjust to the college scene. But our guys are working really hard, and I'm very excited. And then I do believe we're about to sign a very, very, very good recruiting class this November. We have 5 kids that have verbally committed. And since they haven't signed yet, I can't talk about them specifically, but they all have tremendous accolades. And we really, really feel like that group, combined with the group I just mentioned, is going to put us in really good position moving forward.
Awesome. Well, I know we could probably keep this Q&A going on for another hour, but we're coming up on our time. So I would like to hand it back over to Dr. Walker for closing comments.
Thanks, Shannon. Yeah, it's a tough act to follow with all that today. So my closing comments really just to thank everyone. I mean, you look around and this is a phenomenal achievement to get everybody here tonight. And it really just shows the passion that all of you have for wrestling and our program in particular. So once again, thanks to all the people that made this possible. And hopefully you learned a lot about the program and about our history as well as our present. So whatever you can do to help us along, or if you got questions at any time, please reach out and ask any of us. So once again, thank you so much to Josh and Coach Cody. Really is special to have you both here. So thank you, everyone, and go Eagles.
Billy.
Thanks to everyone. You guys did a great job.
Thanks, Lauren.
Thanks, everyone.
Dr. Karsh, how are you?
Well, I'm still on the right side of the turf. I'm good. I'm fine, thanks. Wonderful night. Just really, really special to see everybody that's on the screen here that's turned out. It's really, really nice. Great program. So thank everybody that was involved in making it happen and giving time. And